International trade is a significant driver of economic growth and development for nations worldwide. The exchange rate is a critical factor that influences international trade, as it impacts the cost and competitiveness of goods and services between nations. In this video, we will explore the impact of exchange rates on international trade. Exchange rates refer to the value of one currency in relation to another. The exchange rate affects the prices of imports and exports, which, in turn, influences the demand and supply of goods and services. When the exchange rate changes, it affects the competitiveness of exports and imports, leading to changes in the volume and value of international trade. One of the primary impacts of exchange rates on international trade is the cost of imports and exports. This effect is because a strong domestic currency allows for the purchase of more goods and services for the same amount of money, while a weak currency makes exports more affordable to foreign buyers. For example, suppose the US dollar strengthens relative to the euro. In that case, American consumers will be able to purchase more European goods and services for the same amount of dollars, making European imports cheaper. On the other hand, European consumers will need more euros to purchase the same amount of American goods and services, making American exports more expensive. Another impact of exchange rates on international trade is the demand for goods and services. A change in the exchange rate can make a country's exports more or less competitive, which influences the demand for those products. If a country's currency depreciates, its exports become cheaper, leading to an increase in demand for those products. Conversely, if a country's currency appreciates, its exports become more expensive, leading to a decrease in demand for those products. For instance, suppose the Japanese yen depreciates relative to the US dollar. In that case, Japanese goods and services will become cheaper for American consumers, leading to an increase in demand for those products. Conversely, if the Japanese yen appreciates relative to the US dollar, Japanese products become more expensive for American consumers, leading to a decrease in demand for those products. Exchange rates can also impact the balance of trade between nations. The balance of trade is the difference between a country's exports and imports. A country that exports more than it imports has a trade surplus, while a country that imports more than it exports has a trade deficit. The exchange rate influences the balance of trade because it affects the cost and competitiveness of goods and services. If a country's currency depreciates, its exports become cheaper, leading to an increase in exports and a decrease in imports. This effect can lead to a trade surplus. Conversely, if a country's currency appreciates, its exports become more expensive, leading to a decrease in exports and an increase in imports. This effect can lead to a trade deficit. For example, suppose the Chinese yuan depreciates relative to the US dollar. In that case, Chinese goods become cheaper for American consumers, leading to an increase in exports from China to the US. This effect can lead to a trade surplus for China. Conversely, if the Chinese yuan appreciates relative to the US dollar, Chinese products become more expensive for American consumers, leading to a decrease in exports from China to the US. This effect can lead to a trade deficit for China. In conclusion, exchange rates play a significant role in international trade. Changes in the exchange rate affect the cost and competitiveness of goods and services, influencing the demand and supply of those products. Understanding the impact of exchange rates on international trade is essential for businesses and policymakers to make informed decisions about trade and investment.